What's going on, everyone? When it comes to Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets, all signs kind of point to this being the end, right? They're not really big on extending him. His lack of consistency, all the antics off of the court, even Nike itself is kind of distancing itself from Kyrie Irving. And so many people believe that Kyrie Irving will not be a Brooklyn Net next year. And I did a whole video that was about 18 minutes long, diving into the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, potential trades, things like that. I'll link that video down in the description below. But one of the big things that I wanted to talk about, just because I know not everyone wants to watch a 20-minute video, is a potential trade with Kyrie Irving that is being speculated and kind of going around. And it makes a ton of sense for both the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, and Mr. Russell Westbrook. Because just like Kyrie Irving's time in Brooklyn seems to be over, Russell Westbrook in the Los Angeles Lakers uniform seemed to be over as well. All signs show that they're likely going to try to trade him for something. They just don't want to give up too much. They don't want to end up, mortgaging their future to rid themselves of Russell Westbrook. But clearly there is something that needs to be done with both Westbrook and Kyrie. And the thought process is, okay, we'll trade your problem for my problem. The Lakers likely throw in like a first round draft pick or something like that. I don't think the Lakers would bite if it's 2 draft picks because, Brooklyn is winning heavily on this idea as well. And Russell Westbrook, he gets to get kind of a fresh start. He gets to go to Brooklyn, and then Kyrie Irving gets to go to the Lakers. And a Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving swap, I think, is just, it's about as good as it can get for all parties and all sides collectively. Both teams still get to go to a relative contender, right? Both teams really underperformed this last season. Russell Westbrook, he gets to go and reunite with Kevin Durant, and hopefully that thing works. But from the Brooklyn side, beyond just, taking on Westbrook, the options are there for them because they likely get a draft pick or something that is attached to it. They rid themselves of Kyrie. They get a guy that's at least, is going to play. He's going to show up. Brooklyn also has a team that's really built for Westbrook, right? They have a lot of shooters. They have Seth Curry, Patty Mills. You even have pieces and components that really just fit what you would need to build your team around on top of Kevin Durant, right? And so Westbrook to Brooklyn, I think, would be a much better fit than with what we saw with the Lakers last year. But beyond that, if it doesn't work out, no big deal. You have $44 million that falls off, and you have Kevin Durant as your attractive piece to a free agent. And maybe you can go get another superstar to come team up with Kevin Durant and all the pieces that Brooklyn has. And you're in a perfect position for this year and the future. You might even be better this year with Westbrook as opposed to Kyrie than you were last year, just because Westbrook's going to play. He's going to show up. He has shown that he still has that, triple-double kind of guy in him. He showed those flashes with the Lakers. It's just, one, I don't think Westbrook was really put in a proper position. On top of that, it just didn't fit. They didn't have the pieces around Westbrook that he needs to really succeed like the Brooklyn Nets do. The Brooklyn Nets have a lot of guys that they can really, kind of just piece around him. And Westbrook can go down and do his thing, get to the basket, drive and kick, do what makes him basically the engine going, right? He can continue to be that Energizer Bunny. Westbrook and Kevin Durant are still probably some of the best duos in the league. The big concern would be Kevin Durant likely left because of Westbrook in OKC, but we don't know. It's a new time. It's a new age. They worked well before, so I could see it working. And then for the flip side, for the Lakers, it's brilliant, right? You get Kyrie Irving, who is a much, much better fit than Russell Westbrook was with the, Lakers. And so with Kyrie, you kind of have this big three of Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Kyrie, and you're in a great position. You're immediately a contender. You're arguably the best trio in the entire league collectively. The big concern and the big issue would be reliability and being injured. Because we know LeBron and Davis are likely going to miss 20-plus games. Kyrie Irving's likely going to miss 20-plus games. And so the big concern would be you have 3 guys that aren't going to play night in and night out. Now, granted, if they're healthy come playoff time and they can stay healthy throughout the playoffs, that is a scary team. I mean, LeBron and Kyrie Irving already won a championship together, and you're basically upgrading Kevin Love with Anthony Davis, who would fit way more flawlessly. He's a guy that can play multiple positions. He's a guy that can knock down shots from outside, although last year he really was lacking. But he is a guy that can. He can get down low, he can bang, he can get outside, he can do what he needs to do. And you just have these three components that just fit so naturally, so beautifully. You got somebody that can have the ball in his hands, take it off LeBron. We saw how much improved LeBron's three-point shooting was. So he could even play off the ball, let Kyrie run the show from time to time. You get the kick out. Again, the big real concern is injuries and being reliable. I could see games where all three are sitting out. I could see games where LeBron and Davis or, Davis and Kyrie are sitting out. And if you don't have enough pieces around those three to make it work, I don't know if it can work. They still could end up being in the same position. I don't think that they're going to go for the 1 seed. But, I mean, this team, the three of them, should walk in to at least the top 5. I think realistically the top 4 seed. Because you're going to have teams that are actually trying to get the 1 seed. Like I could see teams like Memphis. I think Utah's going to regress a lot. But maybe Denver. You're going to have these younger teams that are likely going to be trying to fight for the 1 or 2 seed. Lakers, they're just trying to get to the playoffs, especially if you have these three. That's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to get to the playoffs and then trust that these three can win you a championship, which these three together should win you a championship. Again, you're talking the best big three in the entire NBA, in my opinion, if this were to happen. And it just makes sense from a Kyrie perspective. Kyrie has gushed about, the regret of playing with LeBron and how he left that. LeBron has gushed about Kyrie and wanting to reunite with him. So it's a good fit. We've seen it work. They've had success in the past. They've won a championship together. And it's a win-win for the Lakers, definitely. I think this is as good of a trade as you can get. There's a lot of talks about Westbrook, going to the Hornets or, going to Indiana or even a swap with Houston. Like all of those things, yeah, you're getting some nice pieces, but I don't see any of those pieces making you a contender for a championship. Kyrie Irving is that good. If he shows up and he can be reliable, which I think LeBron could get to him. LeBron understands him. LeBron has worked with him. He's had to deal with him. He knows what it takes to kind of get through to Kyrie Irving. If he can, and he can kind of get Kyrie to buy in, that's going to be the key. Kyrie makes you a contender. These three alone are good enough, if all healthy, to win you a championship. I mean, LeBron and AD, healthy, won you a championship. Kyrie and LeBron, healthy, won you a championship. Now you're adding all three together. It's just, I don't see how they wouldn't be the title favorites if all three are on the roster. And then you get the OKC Revival, right? 2.0. You get Westbrook and you get Kevin Durant, which, again, they have shown in the past to have success. I mean, even the year before KD left and went and joined the Warriors, they were up 3-1. It looked like they were going to the finals. It looked like this was the team that everyone thought they were going to be. And then they ended up dropping the ball. KD left, and it's just kind of been a mess ever since. But Westbrook going to Brooklyn to team back up with KD, if KD is willing to do so, another thing I want to dive into later, which is in that 18-minute video, if you want to watch that whole video. But the back half, I talk about a KD trade because there is that idea of KD doesn't want to return without Kyrie. I mean, the whole reason he went to Brooklyn was with Kyrie. And if Kyrie's gone, does he really want to stay there? And does he want to play with Westbrook? That's the big concern. But let's say you do trade for him and he doesn't want to play with Westbrook. You have a lot of leverage. You could buy him out. You can flip him for another team and maybe go get that. Say Indiana really wants him, right? You could go flip him and go get a Brogdon and a Buddy Hield to put around Kevin Durant. And ride it out for a year, see what happens. And then now you got all this money maybe, or if you can get the right trade or right deal, you have options. You could buy out Westbrook. There's many things you could do if you wanted to go that route. But I think ultimately, why wouldn't Kevin Durant want to give it a shot? You got a guy that's reliable. Your buddy Kyrie basically bailed on you all season. He hasn't been Mr. Reliable for you. At least Westbrook, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that yeah, you got to take the good with the bad, but ultimately that good is what the Brooklyn Nets need. It is what the Brooklyn Nets likely would benefit from, having that guy that can distribute, because Brooklyn just has that team around him. They have the shooters, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Patty Mills. You can keep him. You got guys that can really knock down from beyond the arc. And Westbrook's going to collapse the defense. He's going to draw the attention. He's going to kick it out. And beyond that, you got Kevin Durant, right? And at this point, Westbrook might be willing to kind of compromise more than he did in his younger years. He might be willing to kind of, okay, let me figure this out. Let me work through it, because he's tried. We've seen him with other superstars and actually make adjustments, actually do things to try to like buy in. It just hasn't worked, unfortunately, because Westbrook's a very specific player. But Kevin Durant is a guy that knows Westbrook, just like I talked about LeBron, knowing Kyrie, being able to get him to buy in. Kevin Durant, I think, could probably get Westbrook to buy in. I don't know how well the relationship is. It was, I know it was kind of rocky at one point. It seems like they've reconciled a bit. So maybe they both will buy in. And I mean, in the Eastern Conference, it's still arguably one of the best teams. You still got Ben Simmons that you have, that you can play in the dunker spot. You could do things with, take the ball. Like if Westbrook, when Westbrook's out, you have him in the game. I just think that it's a win-win for all parties. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about a potential Kyrie for Russell Westbrook trade? Is it something that you think, yeah, it is? That is one of the few trades that all parties win. Lakers get a guy that they can hopefully become contenders again. The Nets get a guy that hopefully will keep them contenders again. And if he buys in, the Brooklyn Nets kind of, again, have that team that really fits Westbrook as opposed to the Lakers. The Lakers just don't have the guys to really benefit from what Westbrook is good at, really capitalizing on what Westbrook is good at. Not just that, but Brooklyn has Steve Nash as a coach who was a point guard, who was a great distributor, who could do things. So maybe he can get Westbrook to understand and buy in further. He can kind of, weather that storm. And it just gives Brooklyn so much flexibility for the future. It gives Brooklyn so much, options for not just this coming year, but years to come. Where Kyrie, are you really going to give him a max contract for several years? I don't think so. I mean, the Lakers, I think they would. But like, why would Brooklyn want to do that unless KD's gone? But at that point, you could probably trade KD to a handful of teams, which is what I want to touch on in the next video, and get a pretty good core. So, I mean, even if you lose KD, Brooklyn's still probably competitive this season and for the future if you trade KD. So it's just something I think is a real win-win for both sides. I'm trading your problem for my problem. Let's figure it out and make it work. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow with the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.